Welcome back to Tartarian Tales 68 as we do part 2 of the Tamerlane the Great series from this incredible book that is just packed with awesome stuff. I feel like I'm reading the Mendez Pinto stuff, which is what started really Tartarian Tales, and it's just so refreshing, so detailed, so nice, such good little gems packed into everything. And this one is this is actually a new drawing called Arrival by Sea, envisioning just arriving there after the journey and what it would feel like and look like. But it associates with this new Tartarian Tales, where I'm going to go into, I'm going to read from a few different chapters, little quick chapters about building, about getting things done, like him clearing out like a canal, doing massive feats of things in kind of the way that he describes it and just how quickly that it's described. And some of the things that a lot of people I don't think have been factoring in, myself included. And a lot of times we think about horse and carriage doing all this stuff, but elephants apparently are a very big factor, which I never really thought about. And they can move a substantial amount of weight. So that is an interesting factor into the distant past, in which I think we're going to hear about a lot of this. Just this details and this world that they describe is just nuts. Like, I can't imagine the presence of this guy, Tamerlane, too. Just how, like, it kind of people that gain power, or not necessarily power, but do important things and have a nice impact on Earth, or in some way, or either way, really end up having, like, a force about them. And this guy's must have been magnificent. It must have been, like, just intense. Either way, I love reading about this stuff. I hope you all do, too. We have probably got 2 more parts from this book left, so stay tuned. It's all awesome. The next one's going to be about a castle. I can't even wait to share one of those parts because I've been dreaming about it. Just a really beautiful description, and everything is so nice in all of these. Each one adds a little tidbit of stuff that I feel is necessary, and I feel you all would really enjoy because it stuck with me, and maybe it'll stick with you. Very interesting stuff. I'll include some random pictures and some artwork as we go through it, just totally randomly, but enjoy. Here we go. Going to start on page 105, and I believe the second book, and so bear with me on some of the reading. Some of this, again, is a little blurry, but I'll do my best. You'll get it. You'll get the gist. Here we go. Chapter 34, Building of the Great Mosque of Samarkand. The Alcoran expressly assures us that the greatest proof of a prince's faith is his erecting temples to the honor of God, whereupon our conqueror, being persuaded that this work of piety would be the crown of the merits he had acquired in his wars in the Ghazis against the infidels, where he had destroyed the temples of the false gods and exterminated the idolaters, resolved to build a great mosque in Samarkand, large enough to contain all the faithful of that capital city, when they should assemble at Friday's prayers. And to this endest he issued out his orders for the foundations to be laid. The architects chose a happy moment to begin it, viz. In the 4th of Ramadan, 803, which answers to the year of the hare, the moon being then in Leo, going out of the sextile aspect of the sun and entering the sextile aspect of Venus. Very interesting how I love their connection to astronomy. The masons brought from foreign countries, as mentioned before, gave the greatest proofs of their art and skill, as well as in the solidity and beauty of the angles, as in the strength of the foundations of this noble edifice. In the inside of the mosque were employed 200 masons from Azerbaijan, Persia, and India. 500 men likewise worked in the mountains in cutting and hewing of stones, which were sent into the city. Several other artisans of different trades performed their parts with the utmost application. 95 chains of elephants were made use of in drawing large stones with wheels and machines, according to the laws of mechanics. The princes of the blood and emirs were appointed to oversee the workmen, that not one moment might be lost in finishing this stupendous building. Wow. That is the only way it could get done. And I wonder, if the forgers of history knew that and were writing this book as a forgery and writing that stuff, or if this is real, and that just it does make sense. It really does make sense that all this is possible if if you're working unbelievably hard with an army of X amount of people. Because in doing this in a way that just has been done to work, and it's just like creating a moving factory that could just manufacture things on command with strength of animals, humans, and probably giants. Here we go. In the meanwhile, the Mirza Mehmet Sultan, who ordinarily resided at Andakan on the frontier of Get, arrived with a great attendance of officers. He had the honor to pay his respects to the emperor in the hospital of Tumen Aga, where he made his presence and sprinkled gold and precious stones upon his majesty, according to the custom of the Tartars, Moguls, and indeed of almost all the nations of the Turks. I love that. So again, sprinkling gold and precious stones upon the majesty is a amazing Tartar thing. Incredible. Timur embraced this young prince with all the tenderness that could be expected from so good a father. He then went to visit the works to animate the workmen by his presence, and he did not stir either from the college of Canals, which is near the mosque, or from the hospital of Tumen Aga, at which places he distributed justice, sat in council, and decided the affairs of religion and of the state. At length, under his conduct, this great edifice was finished. It contained 480 pillars of hewn stone, each 7 cubits high. The arched roof was covered with marble, nearly carved and polished, and from the architrave of the entablature to the top of the roof were 9 cubits. At each of the 4 corners of the mosque without was a minaret. The doors were of brass, and the walls as well, without as within, as also the arches of the roof were adorned with writing in relief, among which is the chapter of the cavern and other parts of the Alcoran. Very interesting. The pulpit and reading desk where the prayers for the emperor were read, where the prayers for the emperor were read, were of the utmost magnificence, and the niche of the altar, covered with plates of iron gilt, was likewise of perfect beauty. After the month of Ramadan was passed, and the feast of Baltram come, Timur went to the palace of Dilu Cha, where he ordered preparations to be made for the most sumptuous banquets, and all sorts of plays and diversions. The Empress Rokia Kanika, on this occasion, gave a noble entertainment, accompanied with comforts of music and fine dancing. Imagine what that party was like. This is just amazing how they build. I love the extra, just everything about all this stuff. It takes you back into a time, and even just the language of it, I love. Even though it's tough to read, and this, I wish this wasn't so blurry. I apologize for the stumbling here, but it is a little tough to read. But here we go. We'll keep going here. Chapter 23: Conquest of the town of Baalbek. This is a quick one on page 180. Timur decamped from Amesia, and continuing his road towards Baalbek, he marched a day's journey and encamped near a salt pit, from whence he sent out a body of the army to make inroads towards Said and Ban, and to pillage the country along the shore of the Mediterranean. When the imperial standard was arrived at Baalbek, all the army admired the beauty of the walls of this town. The stones are of a prodigious completely blurred, and there is one at the corner of the castle, which looks towards the gardens, 28 cubits long, 16 broad, and 7 high. This town is very famous as well for the beauty of the walls as for the height of its buildings, and it's believed to have been built by Solomon's order, by demons and genii, over whom he had an absolute command. Notwithstanding these advantages, it was reduced by our troops as soon as ever they appeared before it. There were in it so great a quantity of fruits, pearls, and goods, that our soldiers were furnished with all manner of necessaries for a long time. Then Timur ordered the emirs Sheikh Nanredin, Shamalik, Sevanji, and others to advance towards Damascus at the head of 30,000 horse. So, wow, is this again, I don't personally know. Is this fairy tale? Is this true? Is this not fiction, or is this real? Or is this all occurring at these times? I don't know the truth. I'm taking it kind of with a grain of salt and just kind of adding to the overall imagination of everything. But or is this just a way of explaining some of these things that were done by some other method or something when this realm was sold to whoever controls it now? I have no idea, and there are so many infinite possibilities of reality that it's mind-boggling. But taking this and just getting into the imagination of it and really going back in time, and a lot of it checks out in a really kind of fun, awesome way. So here we go. Take what you will, Chapter X40, page 234, it looks like. Found this interesting too, about a canal. Timur digs the river of Burlas. Here we go. It is a common observation that the grandeur of princes is known by the monuments which remain of them after their death. Never any potentate left so many of these marks as power as Timur. Some ancient prince had dug a canal into which the Araxes was brought, but this canal was at length overflown and its banks demolished. While Timur was hunting in these quarters, he by chance cast his eyes upon this beautiful relic of antiquity, and at the same time his ambition and the desire he had to immortalize himself excited him to repair this canal. To this purpose, he crossed the Araxes and regulated the manner in which this project should be executed. The Tavachis distributed the work among the emirs, who were to take care that the soldiers wrought at it. This work was carried on with so much vigor that in a month 2 entire leagues of the canal, deep enough for a boat to swim in, were dug. The place where it discharges itself into the Araxes is called Kiochli Cheongchichi, and the spring head is at a place named Surkapit. Timur gave it the name of Neri Burlas, that is, the river of Burlas, and on its banks have since been built several towns, villages, mills, vineyards, gardens, and pleasure houses. Though Timur employed almost all his time in war with designs to render himself master of Asia, using all the means of policy which seconded by fortune, hath facilitated to him the conquest of this great empire by a chain of utmost incredible victories. Yet this prince, the better to transmit his memory to posterity, has erected so many stately edifices and other famous monuments that this canal, with all its beauty, ought to be accounted one of his least undertakings, since if compared with the others, 'tis but as a rivulet to the ocean. Wow. So just this one canal is just a tiny little piece of rivulet of the ocean, which is like pretty low percentage. And then that's just, this is just all kind of, I tried to pick ones that were related to their ability to build things in a remarkable way, in a way that seems to blow my mind. And there is a big difference in the ancient buildings that are there. I mean, there's like the ones in Prague and those places, Belgium and stuff, that are just immaculately detailed and clearly etherical machines. And then there's like towers and structures and walls and different things like that. Castles that are like more like not necessarily Lego pieced together, but by stones. If you had enough stones and an army of people, this is all feasible. So it's just a total difference of things, and the ancient ones with those buildings and Gothic style things is a whole nother ball game. But you never know what these people were building, and like that Samarkand one, incredible. And this one I found absolutely amazing. I was going to make 2 videos out of it, but we're making good timing here, so I want to keep this going because this just produced an amazing vision in me that I haven't been able to get out, and I absolutely love it, and so I think you all will too. Again, it's a little blurry. This one has a special blurry page, but here we go. Chapter 19, page 162, The Taking of the Castles of Behezna and Antapa. Timur ordered the Mirza Charva to depart with several great emirs as chief of scouts. Being arrived at Behezna, they encamped there, where they were soon joined by Timur with the whole army, who encamped on an eminence near the castle to view the situation of the place, which is in a decile where several torrents flow. Its walls were high and strong, being built on the ridge of a steep mountain. The troops soon made themselves masters of the the lower town, which they entirely ravaged. The governor of the castle for the Syrians was named Machbel, who, relying upon the strength of the castle, put himself in a posture of defense. While Timur was examining the condition of the place, the besieged discharged a great stone from their machines against the emperor's person, which fell upon the ground near his tent and rolled into the very tent. This stirred up Timur's wrath, who immediately ordered the siege to be formed, and charred the walls among the tomans of the army round which they erected 20 machines, and one of them upon the very spot where the stone fell. That's pretty savage. The first stone cast from this machine struck that of the besieged and broke it to pieces, which was reckoned as a good omen. I always wonder what the machines they could, like the catapults and different things, but their assembling of things is just so fascinating. Then the Mirza Rustem arrived from Shiraz with the Persian army and joined the imperial camp. The siege was continued, and the sappers followed their work close, while the emirs and other brave men attacked the place on all sides, and soon made breaches in several parts of the walls, propping the foundations with stakes. Machbel, seeing himself reduced thus low, was seized with fear and resolved to surrender. He sent messengers several times to the emperor to acquaint him with his weakness and want of power, and alleged as an excuse for not coming before him the dread he had of his imperial majesty. Beseeching Timur to grant him quarter, which could not in the least prejudice him or his officers, Timur made answer that he would grant him his liberty, but not till after the taking of the place, because as this castle was esteemed impregnable, if the army should raise the siege, those who had but little insight into things would imagine that our soldiers were not able to take it by force, and that a conqueror should not be thought of to have spared his enemy. News travels fast even back then. The 7th of... let me just make sure. Yeah, the 7th of Sefer 803, they were ordered to set fire to the breaches and to the towers, and so the towers began to fall, which the besieged seeing, they were stoned with fear, and Mobel lost all hopes. He sent the Cadi, the imams, and the sheriffs with all the pearls and curiosities he had as a present to Timur. They addressed themselves to the Mirza Charte, whom they besought to be their advocate and protector. These doctors let the emperor know that Machbel was the meanest of his majesty's servants, that he sincerely repented of his fault, humbly demanded pardon for it, and hoped that the emperor would not refuse him the favor of sparing his life. Timur, at Sharak's intercession, pardoned not only Machbel, but even all the garrison, and the envoys contentedly returned back, praising the emperor and making vows for the prince Charok. As soon as this good news was brought to the city, new gold and silver money was coined, and Friday prayers read in the name of the invincible Timur. After this, the army decamped and marched towards Antapa. The walls of this city were exceeding strong, being built of hewn stone and surrounded with a ditch 30 cubits deep and near 70 broad, with a drawbridge. A counter-serp, which is of stone, has also a covered way, broad enough for a man to pass on horseback, which post was assigned the archers. The Tartar army, on their arrival at this place, found the principal persons gone out, and only a few poor citizens left, who had shut the gates upon them. But the city was full of goods and ammunition. When Timur came before the palace, the gates were opened, and the keys brought out to him. He fixed a governor over it, and joined it to his dominions. What a savage thing. Just these moments are they're very just cool to envision. Either way, whether it happened just like this or not, I could picture it. You hear of these conquerors and the power back then. And who knows, though? I mean, I like to also, you know, in some reality, maybe this is full-blown real. And then in other reality that I'm also, you know, I don't know the 100% certainty either of anything, but that this is 100% fake, and maybe the past was a little more beautiful and less war-torn would be nice. But who knows? You know, we live in a place where it seems like power does ridiculous things to people, and when people get it, you know, even in packs of animals, you know, it exponentiates itself into either a good or a bad thing. And so, I mean, this guy, he's got some good aspects of him. He seems like a pretty good leader, but he's a savage, and he takes life like absolutely just like terribly. You know, he's a terrible, terrible guy as well, for all the life and destruction of all these things. And that one that they were talking about that built that whole area that was completely ancient, that his troops just demolished without even thinking about it. Like, I know how many times did that happen? You know, that happens today, 100%. Where things get bombed. Oh, destroy this, ha ha ha, done. All thousands of years worth of history completely eradicated because of the moves of a couple dummies with power, with weapons of big time destruction. And you know, just how they construct these machines, how they, like, the towers. There's another one I might have to dig up, but I'll put in the next video, I think. But just so many good things. I recommend taking a look at this book. It's just so interesting to just flip through and be like, read a quick chapter, find out a little bit of gem. And if you do, share it. I love hearing about it. Let me know any other parts you see that are essential. But you know, really beautiful stuff. I love the gems, the sprinkling of gems and precious stones by the Tartars, that ancient Tartar tradition. Just little things like that learning about just really adds to the whole, I feel, in some way. It adds to my collective vision personally, and just gives me more and more ideas. It makes everything in life colorful even more, and the potential for humanity just grow that much more, because it's been done in the past, and there's so many just interesting things that would be cool to be found. Imagine finding relics described in these books, or an old vest I'm sure exists from Tamerlane somewhere, one of those vests in someone's private collection, or who knows what all these places, the Vatican, everything holds. But I hope one day we get to find out, because why not? It'd be amazing to see how far as a species we could grow if we were fully unleashed with the truth about everything, be it good or bad. It just feels like it would be more freeing to find out, and just have humanity as a whole be freed would be pretty sweet. So who knows? Keep working towards it. Keep busting through. Just feels so much better to not settle on one positive. Just have all these potentials flowing around and have them all be positive. Who knows? I'm just blabbling. Let's join up for the next Tartarian Tales. Until then, bless you all. Have a great day. Thanks again.